Okay, I'm going to show you a 3D camera tracking effect that's been used on a couple music videos. Namely, there's this Clubfeet Everything You Wanted video, and what the effect is like a 3D camera tracking sort of effect where you see somebody walking and you see these still images of them coming along like this, and then they fit into that image and then they keep moving. And it's kind of cool toward the end of the video here. You see a whole bunch of effects with an umbrella happening. They use the same thing on a One Direction video as well. We have all these umbrellas floating in the air. And he's matching it up with all the umbrellas there and sucking them up there. Kind of a cool effect. Really cool effect. And also, like I said, One Direction used it in one of their popular videos called You and I. Here you see these freeze frames that they are moving into. And this is actually a fairly easy effect to pull off, believe it or not. Yeah, if you get a chance to watch those videos, they're kind of cool. Yeah, so watch those videos. They have a lot of cool effects in them. But let's get started, show you how we do that. Okay, so what I've got here, and I guess I apologize because I use just a consumer home video camera to shoot this because my Arri 35 film camera is in the shop and my Alexa camera, my Rode camera out on rental. Yeah, so anyway, no, I just walked outside and got a shot of this right here. Somebody walking down the street and just kind of tracking back with them, kind of simulating kind of the same sort of effect. Anyway, so I'm going to take this shot over here. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to take, first of all, this has to be done in After Effects. I'm just going to duplicate my clip here so to make this easier. I'm going to show you why in a minute. But I'm going to take the bottom clip here that I'm going to do the effect to, and I'm going to send this to After Effects. Okay, got the file here, and now I'm going to go up to my workspace, arrange it for motion tracking. With the clip selected, I'm going to do a track camera. If this is and this is going to take a while if it's going to, especially if it's a longer clip like on the music video, because that was like one shot that was done. Because that was like one shot that was done for like 5 minutes. And the way they had that like slow effect on one of those videos is they actually doubled the speed of the song, probably like an MP3, and played it, and he sang it at twice the frame, or shooting twice the frame rate. So when they slowed it down, it looked like you were seeing, it walking in slow motion. And that slow motion really helps. And they had that big building that was next to the side that had a lot of tracking features on it. Anyway, while I'm talking, I'm going to track the camera here. Click track camera, get that going. And it also helped that it was in slow motion. And some issues this has is that it's shot with a home video camera. There's a very high shutter speed, so it doesn't have a lot of motion blur. So it's so it doesn't go smooth. It's very kind of stroby, but it'll work just fine. But like I said, it's better to if you have a more stable shot. If you've got like a large building or something on the side there that it's able to track to, like that One Direction video had that long platform and had a lot of points that it could track to. And this does too. It has a nice flat road that's going to have a lot of plain surface to track to. So we'll come back here in a minute once this is through tracking. Okay, this is through tracking. We're going to select the clip, go up to the effects controls, and look at the 3D camera tracker here. Select the 3D camera tracker, and you're going to see a bunch of points there. If you need to make it larger, if you can't see those points, just grab your point size and increase the point size so you can really see those. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Premiere here, and I'm going to pull out some still photos of where I want those kind of still frames to happen at. I'm going to go to Premiere and move through this and and now it's not referencing the After Effects. I've got this MP4 here, which is referencing the original MP4. But I'm going to find some points here. Like if she walks up and jumps, I'm going to have her jump into the effect right there. So I'm actually going to save a still out of this. I'm going to click and click this little still image and save a still frame out of this. I'm going to browse. I've already done this. I've already extracted a bunch of still images here. So, but you're going to do that. I'm going to do for this. I've got like 5 of them. And also one other thing I'm going to do is the point where I pull that still out of, I'm going to put a marker on my timeline just to remind me which frame I used here. I'm going to hit M for marker. Oops, make sure my clip is selected. I don't want it selected. And deselect so it puts a marker on the timeline, not on the clip. M. There's a marker right there. So I'm going to move to the next point that I want right there. I'm going to extract. I think I extracted a still right there. So I'm going to put a marker on that one. And then I'm going to move along here and find the other points where where I put the markers. I know I put a marker right there. But every time you extract a still, you hit M and put a marker. And I think I've already got a timeline here where I've got all the markers on it right there. So these are all the points, actually, with the one more point here where she jumps. Right there. Put a marker right there. Okay. So I've got a marker, and I've extracted a still on every one of these points here. And there's going to be 5 images that she blends into right there. And I've got, like I said, I've got a marker just to remind me the frame where it's at. Just kind of a little convenient there. You can figure it out in After Effects, but this is just kind of a convenient little trick I do in Premiere. And now we're going to go to the still images. So I'm going to go to the still images, and I've already done some effects with the still images here. What I've done is I've gone to each one of these except for this one. I haven't done it to this one yet. You open each still in Photoshop, and within Photoshop here, I'm going to hold down Option and scroll up, so I got the image fit in here. I'm going to grab my magnetic lasso here, and then we're going to go around the person here and kind of draw. You're going to click, and then with the magnetic, I clicked once and just start kind of moving it around, and it finds the edges of the person here, and you can create kind of this outline around the person here. And this obviously needs some fixes. I'm not getting the points just perfect. You can change the tolerance and some other things on this, but I'm not going to give a Photoshop lesson. If you need to do Photoshop and pulling images out, there are plenty of tutorials online. Oops, that was a screw up. Let's move around here. But I'm going to basically get the shape of the girl here. Click. There we go. You can go in and fine tune. If you hold down Option and click around something, you're going to minus off here. You'll notice that little minus right there. If you do Shift, it'll add to your mask. But that's good enough right there for now. So now what I'm going to do is just do a Command C to copy and Command V to paste. And I actually pasted that selection onto a new layer. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go to one thing. I recommend fine-tuning these masks. I didn't do it to all of them. I did a really quick masks on these, but I'll do it to one here, and then you'll get the idea. So you see some kind of crummy masks that I've made here, but you can fine-tune them. So I'm going to go to Select, Refine Edge, and it shows the edge here. It's really hard-edged. I'm going to smooth it a little bit, which rounds the edges. I'm going to feather it, which softens the edges just a little bit. Ooh, that's way too much, like about by a pixel. And now we're going to shift the edge. I'm going to suck the edge in a little bit. There we go. And you can just kind of fine-tune this until it looks good. But there's some other things I could have done to make it look better, but that's good enough right now. I'm going to say OK. And right now, with that selection, now I can do Command C, Command B, or Control C, Control V on a PC. And I'm just going to select the background and delete. And I'm left with an alpha channel with just the girl there. And I'm going to go File, Save As. And I'm going to save this as a PNG. You can save it as a Photoshop file too. That works, but I like PNGs just because they're simple. And they recognize alpha channels. So I'm going to say still one, save that. So what I end up with here is I end up with the still JPEGs that I exported and a PNG with the extractive image out of each still. There to see, look, it's a really crappy job I did in these other ones, but I don't care. I'm just doing this for instructional purposes, so just get off my case. There it is. See, really crappy ones. This one was okay, though. This one I did an okay job on. Still kind of crappy, but yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. Once you're getting paid for this, you can take your time on it. All right, I'm going to go back to After Effects now, and I'm going to import those stills. I don't need the JPEGs. I'm just going to import the PNGs right there. Bring those in. And now, with this 3D layer 3D camera layer tracked here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the first spot where I'm going to insert the first image. And this is where I can go back to Premiere and look at my frame here. I'm at 5 seconds and 27 frames. So I'm going to go to After Effects. I can go to the same time code, 5 and 27, and it lands right on the exact frame. Now what I can do is this guy has a whole bunch of nice little flat targets I can do that does a plane on the ground there. I'm going to choose those 3 right there. See how it does a target on those 3 right there. You can choose them yourself if you want to, or it'll create it. It'll automatically lock to 3 of them. Now I can right click on that once I've got 3 selected and I got a target. I'm going to right click and we're going to say create solid and camera. There's the solid. And I'm going to do this to everything here. I'm going to move along. I'm going to call this solid 1. Now I'm going to go back to Premiere And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find each one of these. I'm holding shift, by the way, to lock to my my marker there. It locks right there. I can tell this is exactly on 10:02. So I'm going to go over to After Effects, go to 10:02, return, and we're going to add one more solid there. So I'm going to select the clip, select the camera tracker, and this plane works fine right there. So I'm going to right click and create a new solid. The camera's already been created, now we just have to do solids. So create solid. I'm going to click on this one, call it solid 2. Go back to Premiere. And I'm going to repeat this process and go to each one of these 5 frames that I have, or however many images you have, and then I will come back and show you what we have. Okay, so I've done that to all 5 of those spots, and if we go back, scroll back, and let me put this on like half quality so it plays back a little quicker, you'll see that these solids have tracked to the road, and you've got these objects locked to the road, changing shape and distance and recognizing the z-axis, but right now she walks. It's superimposed over the video, so you'll see her. So you'll see this green. She won't walk on it. It'll look like it's above her. Anyway, but you can see each one of these is tracking to the road and moving with the dimension, with the depth of the road, which is kind of cool. Look how far back those are, and it's locked to the road. So we're most of the way there actually. So now all we have to do is we go to, once again, those exact frames where those things happen here. We're going to go to the first one, and that first one happens at 5:27. So I'm going to go to 5:27, and we're going to grab our, and that's where this first green solid is, this first solid, solid number 1. I'm going to grab the still number 1, and with the solid one, this is important, solid 1 has to be selected. You grab the still one, and you start dragging, and when you drag it, and I've got a hold of it, after you start dragging, now I hold down Option. While I'm holding down Option, I drop it on the selected solid, and it replaces her, that jumping image, with her jumping here, but it's flat on the ground. So this is an easy fix. All you have to do is go down to transform of that clip that's been replaced there, still called solid 1, but it's now been replaced with that still one, and you grab your X rotation degrees here, and you just see that your Y or your Z axis right there is pointing up in the air, so it's like her laying flat on the ground. So you just move this up almost 90 degrees. Well, actually, you could just do it about 90 degrees, and then it will be straight up and down because it's 90 degrees up from the ground there. Now, it's kind of matching this here. Now all you have to do is grab the Y-axis, move it up. Grab the X-axis, move it over. I'm going to hold down Option and zoom up a little bit, and now it's just simple matching. I'm going to grab that, drag it up, try to kind of get it centered there. And now we can just go to Scale and move the scale up. And then it's just kind of a game of getting this to match the same shape and size, finding the exact place where she belongs there to match size. And what I could do, if you want it to scale kind of in the middle, is you could move your anchor point right here. You could just go up and hit Pan Behind tool, grab that and move it right there, kind of in the center. And now hit V for arrow. And now it's just simply getting that to match the exact same size there. It's a little bit too big. Actually, you could hit T for opacity and bring the opacity down to get kind of an onion skin to see if it's matching. And she's looking a little bit off there, so I'm going to drag it down, over, and scale it down until you get that to match. And right about there's getting close. Once you've got it, you turn the opacity back up. And now, look what we've got here. You'll see her floating there in that space. And as she comes walking up, well, let's get it back to the beginning here. There she's out of the shot. Now watch, she's going to come into the shot. There she is, floating above the road. There's her still image, and now watch what happens. And actually, what we need to make this do is disappear right on that frame when she jumps. So right where she jumps, and it lines up. Right there, where she lines up, we're going to go to the solid and make it Option. I'm going to do Option, right bracket, and make it shut off. That puts an out point right there. Holding down Option and right bracket above the return key puts an out point right there. And now this just shuts off. Boom. And there you go. And then I'm going to do that to the other solids. I'll do that to the other ones. You're going to do the exact same process here for the other clips. I'm going to go to the next one. Sorry to show this one more time, and then I'll show the end result. 10:02 is where the next one hits. So we're going to go to 10:02, hit return, select the solid, grab my still 2. Now hold down Option while I'm dragging it and drop it on solid 2, and it's replaced. Going to arrow down, go to transform, and we're going to rotate this up to 90 degrees so she's standing up. And go to the y-axis, move this up. Go to the x-axis, move it over. Get it lined up. Oops, looks like I was off by a frame there. Get that moved over. And then it's just simple scaling after that to get it to fit. Actually, that looks like it works pretty well there. So, okay. So once I get that to match there, now I'm going to select that solid, do Option, right bracket, and turn it off right on that frame. So now she moves along. Here's the next one. Boom. And she sucks that one up. And then I'm going to do the other 3 and come back and show you the final result. Okay, now I'm done to each 5 of those points that I had. I mean, you can do as many as you want, but now as she walks through, she jumps and matches on that clip. There's another one. And there's the one she kneels down. So, looks pretty good. Notice I got some kind of crappy cutouts here, but... And then the last part of this is if you want those things kind of to simulate the depth of field, because as things are closer to the camera, they're going to be out of focus. So what you could do here is as this clip is out of the camera here, actually, let's have it come in focus. Right, this is a home video camera, so like almost everything's in focus, so it won't matter as much. But if you're using kind of more of a cinematic lens that's got a high speed, like a high-speed lens or something, then you're going to be getting you're going to be getting a more shallow depth of field. So what I'm going to do here to kind of simulate that, we're going to go to one of the solids here. I'm going to go to our effects. Let's arrange this for effects here. And go to the effects. I'm going to type in blur. You do like a camera. Actually, the camera blur is a good one to do. I'm going to type in camera, and there's the camera lens blur. I'm going to drop that onto the solid here. And what we're going to do is we're going to keyframe that under the effects, and we're going to keyframe that. We're going to put a keyframe right here. It's got to be in sharp focus, and when it's over here, it's got to be out of focus. And actually, that depth of field looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to put a keyframe at the beginning of the clip here. So at the beginning, it's out of focus. By the time it gets to her, it's going to be in focus, so I'm going to keyframe that, put it to 0, so it'll start at the blur radius at 5, it's out of focus, and then as it gets closer to her, and that simulates the depth of field there as it gets closer to her. You can also add like a depth of field on the camera down in your timeline, but this is much easier with something as simple as this. There, now as it gets to her, and actually I'm going to have it be in focus right by about there, because that depth of field doesn't stop right where she begins there. So now it's in focus, and I'm going to do that each one of the clips, and that's kind of the last step there. Yeah, you can kind of see the potential of the 3D camera tracker. There's a lot of stuff you can do, make some really cool effects. So now I'll just show that. If you have any questions, let me know, but I'll show the clip here, and go ahead and watch those music videos. They got some really cool effects on those as well. So